Welcome everyone to this week's interview. Today I am talking to the 2003 NASCAR Busch Series Rookie of the Year, David Stremme. David, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. It's crazy Monday.
I hear you. It is currently pouring down rain outside, so I'm dealing with that right now as well.
Yeah.
So first question, first became a fan of yours through the NBS 24/7. It was a docu series that followed a few of the Busch Series drivers in the early 2000s. What was it like being a part of the show?
It was really cool, actually. I got to learn a lot, and then people got to learn a lot about me also. And it was something that I think helped me with fans. And, some of the stuff was staged a little bit. They
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do, but there's still a lot of people these days that still love the show and would love for something like that to go on. But, again, I think this day and age, a lot of it just has to do with funding and people
Mm-hmm.
just finding, just like anything else, finding stuff to be able to bring to the show.
Yeah, I think a lot of younger fans they don't realize that back then you didn't have like your Facebooks and your Twitters to get to know drivers. And like for me, I would come home on Mondays, and that was I look forward to it every week, or probably secondly to the race. But getting to come home, watch MBS 24/7 inside. Like Nextel Cup, Winston Cup, or whatever. That was the highlight because I didn't get to check like a Twitter or whatever. It was this is how I get to meet David Stremme or Tim Fedewa or whatever. So
Yeah, yeah, it was a cool deal, like you said. I mean, nowadays you got social media, and I've actually been somebody tried hacking in my Twitter account, so I've been off of Twitter for about 6 months now. And and to be honest, it's not a bad thing
yeah,
because of just everything going on in the world today. But I do have, my Facebook stuff, and I've been pretty busy. But people can follow us more that way. But yeah, back in the day, that was like the really cool kind of insight to everybody.
mm. So one thing that comes to mind whenever I think David Stremme is you have some of my favorite paint schemes of all time, including the 2007 Supercuts ride, which to this day I think might be my favorite NASCAR scheme of all time. Um,
Yeah,
did you have a hand in any of your paint schemes, or did you have a favorite when you look back on your NASCAR career?
I don't know. I mean, there was a lot of them. The Coors Light was really awesome. They did a lot of stuff there. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a Junie Donlevy tribute I did when I was driving for right at the end of my career for Mike Hillman Sr. Um, it's there's a lot of different ones, but what's kind of crazy is because I haven't. It's been 4 years ago. I actually drove a super late model on asphalt.
Mm-hmm.
Or excuse me, 3 years ago. Other than that, I don't really care about asphalt stuff. I'm in love with dirt racing.
Uh-huh.
I have a lot of fun, and it's funny because when people bring up my asphalt career, I go, oh yeah, I did do that and have done this, and we're more. I guess I'm more focused on my dirt stuff right now, but
Mm-hmm.
it is funny because a lot of people still look at me as a asphalt guy,
Mm-hmm.
but some are starting to take me for the dirt stuff, and I take it pretty serious, but I wouldn't say there's one favorite scheme that sits out as far as the paint job.
Yeah, I'd always wondered that because, like I said, I bring up that paint scheme, and most of the time people respond with "what?" or I say, "Well, it's Fitz Motorsports," and they go, "Who was that?" And so, I personally felt like it was an underrated scheme. But yeah, that was the first thought I had is when I was doing the interview is, "Oh yeah, David drove that car." Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so once your the full time NASCAR chapter of your life closed, you founded Lethal Chassis. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came to be and the success you found since then?
Well, towards the end of my NASCAR career, kind of, I'd owned a team and had a partner, and that kind of, we'll just say it wasn't the best,
Mm-hmm.
and, kind of burned me out, really. So I had dirt cars. I'd messed around a little bit with them, charity events, and then just maybe once or twice a year going to run them. But so at the end of 13, I said, man, I'm going to go run some. So I had a car, and we went and raced it, and we were okay, but I wasn't getting the help and doing stuff. So 2014 come, and I was still doing some stuff with Mike Hillman Senior Racing, and I started messing around still with the dirt stuff because I wasn't running the cup stuff every weekend, and I'd seen where guys basically they weren't getting help. I thought there was a little deal there where I wanted to just build my own car just for myself. Well, I built one for myself and my buddy, and next thing you know, all of a sudden guys are wanting them, and then we kind of just said, well, hey, we'll try it out, because again, I felt like there wasn't really a service that guys were providing for people. So, you know, and at the end of 14 there, we went and we started a Lethal Chassis, and we took on orders, and the first year was slammed with like 31 orders, and we were busy. We were able to accomplish a lot. We won a lot of big races with different drivers in our cars, and it's been pretty much a very blessing in our disguise because it's put some fun back in it for me in racing. I mean, yeah, there's days it's still like a job a little bit, but I love what I do, and you know, I get really a lot of enjoyment out of different people winning in our cars, and we've built a car for a kid out of Texas. He's a paraplegic. He never won any race. Last year he won 6 races. It was just really cool to be part of his program and be able to provide him, you know, a car that could go out and he could have fun and win with. So there's a lot of things, a lot of moments with Lethal that's been really cool. But there's been a lot of challenges too. I mean, learning the dirt and just anything to do, you know, business-wise, there's nothing easy with it. But for the most part, we kind of got into it messing around and just turned it into a business, and I feel like we're one of the top builders in the country for dirt modifieds, and we send them all over the country, into Canada, everywhere.
Yeah, I know as a fan, it always sucks when you see a driver get, you know, put with either a team that doesn't have the resources behind it, or when you see them leave the sport. But it's an awesome, you know, turn of events or whatever when you see that chapter close. But then you see guys like you or Kenny Wallace or Kenny Schrader that turn it into something from, instead of just, you know, being at the track, to being at tracks where you're competitive, you're having fun. And that's one thing I love with Lethal Chassis, is that your story, you know, it didn't turn into, okay, now I just drive, but it turned into, now I'm offering people better equipment, as well as people opportunities that otherwise wouldn't have those opportunities.
Yeah, it was, I mean, the NASCAR stuff had turned into, I think I can just say I was very blessed to be part of, I think, the peak of NASCAR. It's gone through a lot of changes. You know, when I was first going in the Cup side of things, guys in their 50s were retiring. Now it's like, I said it when Carl left, you know, guys in their 40s are going to be retiring. And I think it's going to be a younger guy's sport. A lot has to do with, I mean, young guys, they start racing when they're 5 years old. You know, I didn't start till 16. But the other thing is, from a financial side, you know, some of these young guys are really good. They can get them cheaper and get going on them, you know. But I just feel that I got to do it for 14 years. So, I mean, that's a long time. And I felt like, I should say 12 years I ran a couple years ASA, but I just said, hey, I need something different. So now I get to go out, and I've always loved short track racing. But the asphalt side was just, man, there's just too much time it takes, and it don't pay as good. So the dirt stuff, they got really cool races. I mean, I can pretty much go anywhere in the country and race, and we don't have a schedule. You know, you talked about Wallace and Schrader. They have their customers of ours, and I mean, we all go out and just have fun. And I feel it's like your old school racing, where afterwards you can grab a beer, the fans come down, they can interact with you. It's a fun deal. And the modified, I like it because it's just me and my buddy Kevin and my wife to go to the track. We don't need a ton of people, but I definitely found enjoyment in it. You know, it's not that I still have a lot of my NASCAR buddies. They come by, and had a couple of them, they've even went out and run the car. But you know, I still stay in contact. But it's funny because a lot of those guys, even crew members, at the NASCAR level come to our shop here, and all they want to do is talk about the short track racing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's just something we all grew up with, and we love it, and it is a lot of fun. A lot of guys say they're jealous of what I'm doing. I said, I don't know about there's so much jealousy in it, but I do enjoy what I get to do.
Yes, sir. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time from your busy Monday to chat with me for a few minutes. Like I said, growing up, NBS 24/7 was my favorite show. I love Fitz Motorsports. So when I was looking at your career, I was like, I think David Stremme, other than one or two teams, drove from so many teams that were my favorites. So I really appreciated getting to chat with you.
Well, I appreciate that. Fitz was we had a really cool sponsor with the Navy, and then also I felt like, too, it was a very small team, underfunded team compared to what we were competing against, and we did quite well with it. I felt like it was, it was a really, really good part of my life that I enjoyed. Also with Todd Braun when it was a trim spot car. There's a lot of that. James Finch, a lot of the Busch Series was a lot of fun, and probably I will say the most fun I had. I mean, I had a lot of fun driving for Chip. When I was with Penske, it was their company is going through so much change. It wasn't as fun. But what I'm going to tell you, Roger Penske is a class act. That whole organization. I still have a lot of friends there. Just bad timing, I would say. But Chip was a lot of fun. But probably the best was driving for Rusty Wallace. In a way, we didn't have a lot of money. Sponsored left, and we were kind of putting deals together. And we competed for wins and a lot of seconds. And we had, I should just say, a ton of top fives, but just had a blast.
Yeah.
And that Busch Series, or the Xfinity Series now, that was a lot of fun. So I appreciate you being a fan and what you're doing, and thanks for having me on here.
All right. Thank you very much.